irritable, take solace. You're one of millions of Americans that has trouble.
Chris Herbert is our guest today, educator for Ridgecrest Herbals. Chris has been in the natural products industry for a very long time and very well versed about the industry, understands how health food stores work. At one point, he co-owned and operated a health food store in Houston, as I understand it. And he has worked in sales and education for, different herbal supplement companies, and he's now director of sales for Ridgecrest Herbals. And I think the world of Chris. He's just a great guy, but very smart, and will just give you the straight scoop. No frills, just straight up what it is. Chris, welcome back. You have a product called Clear Lungs. That product is pretty unique. Could you explain or describe and explain that product to the listener and viewer? That seems like an appropriate product, perhaps, for this time of year.
Yeah, it certainly is. Clear Lungs is a traditional Chinese medicine formula, and it's based off of 13 different ingredients, all designed to help bring wellness to an imbalance in the body, especially during the cold and flu season. We started the company back in 1994, and Clear Lungs has actually been the #1 natural product for lung health for over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of people know us for Clear Lungs, and we make several different types of Clear Lungs products.
Who are the
shortly?
Mm-hmm. Who are the people that typically go for that product, buy that product?
The people who have any type of imbalance. So if they end up having, if they feel under the weather, they feel that their immune system is a little bit lower. We're here to help support and nourish the immune system.
Okay, so all right, I'm trying to put that together. Clear Lungs, it clearly, no pun intended, targets the lungs, but more generally the immune system. Is that what you're saying?
No, primarily the lungs, because we know that whenever you have an imbalance, the lungs are impaired. They struggle to kind of keep up with the daily activities that you have. And so essentially what we're trying to do is Clear Lungs is designed to help bring, circulation to the lungs, because we know with more circulation, you're able to bring more vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, nutrients to the lungs to help support healing. And so it's really designed to help nourish and strengthen the lungs, keep your airways open, balance your mucus levels, and again, just really ideally to bring more circulation to the lungs. And Clear Lungs is, as I mentioned before, based off traditional Chinese medicine, and it's called a Zheng Fu theory, and it's that every organ has a paired organ. Now, the lungs are actually paired with the large intestine, and I know that sounds a little bit odd, but if you think about it for a minute, if somebody ends up eating a lot of refined carbohydrates, a lot of sugar, and a lot of mucus-forming foods, this impairs the large intestine, the colon.
Mm-hmm.
That, in turn, we know that 75 to 80% of your immune system is found in the colon. So if you eat all of these foods, and especially that KFC sandwich that we spoke about earlier, this really wreaks havoc on the large intestine, which in turn, the lungs end up suffering.
Now,
and so if you
go ahead, finish your thought, please.
And so if you think about that, so if we eat a lot of these damaging foods to our body, it does a lot of things. It impairs our digestion, lowers our immunity. That in turn makes us more susceptible to illness.
Mm-hmm. So now, people that have difficulty breathing, they may have some form of maybe emphysema, some lung disorder whereby their respiration is impaired. Does the product pertain to those people?
Well, it can, yeah. Any type of impairment to the lungs that anybody might experience, Clear Lungs would be good for them.
877-897-8255, 877-897-TALK. Chris Herbert, educator for Ridgecrest Herbals, is the guest today. And this product has been the leading selling product for lung health for 20 years?
Yeah, for 20 years.
My goodness. How do you all track that? How does that get tracked in the natural products industry?
A lot of it is through the SPINS data. That's primarily the biggest thing. We see how many turns go through natural product channels, even some supermarket channels as well.
And is the product primarily for adults, or can children and teenagers, adolescents take it?
Yeah, great question. So we make an original formula called Clear Lungs Original. It has a red label, and that is more for kind of chronic conditions, something like if you have a lung condition that's kind of been ongoing and something that you know that you suffer with. Then we also make a Clear Lungs Extra Strength, which is the blue label. That's more for acute symptoms, a symptom that's come on very fast, very sudden. It's 50% stronger than the original formula. And then we make a Clear Lungs Liquid. And the liquid is really good for children, adolescents, somebody who has a hard time swallowing capsules. And then we also make a Clear Lungs Immune. And the immune is for if you're around people that are sick, or if you start to feel kind of, something coming on, a little scratchy throat, something maybe coming into the chest. So the Clear Lungs Immune has the original Clear Lungs ingredients, but then it also has olive leaf, elderberry, andrographigus, very powerful immune supporting ingredients.
Okay, when we come back after the top of the hour, and then we'll end this block, and people hear their news, and weather, and whatever else they hear in their market where the show airs. If you could talk about, you allude to and mentioned directly even some of these herbs that constitute the products. I know that each one of them is very unique. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that and what is so unique about these different herbs. And then, of course, as you well know, putting herbs together, they seem to work better together than they do alone oftentimes, right?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll get into that and much more. Chris Herbert, educator for Ridgecrest Herbals, our guest. Go to Ridgecrest, is it RC? It's rcherbals.com. rcherbals.com. There you will see a number of different products. They have one called Airway Clear. They have, so many. Blood pressure formulas, blood sugar balance, and so on. And, of course, the Clear Lungs that we're talking about today. We'll be back. And welcome to the show. Thanks for stopping by the 2019 winter edition of Let's Talk Nutrition. And boy, it is winter. Make no mistake. And it is also cold and flu season. It's not good. I'm here at the CDC website taking a look at what's going on. And these websites are very useful. You know, you should use them. We pay for them. So it would be useful for us to take advantage of them. And you know, there in some parts of the country, the flu is really taking hold, and people are pretty sick. Some schools have closed, right, Gary? Didn't I report?
Yes. The other day when we were in Kentucky, there was no buses running. There was no school.
Really?
Yeah. Had a wind chill factor, though, of minus 13 where we were at, but.
So this time of year it can be tough, and it's hard to keep up. You know, just because it's wintertime, that doesn't mean everything in your life changed. And cold and flu season, it's there, and now you add that into the mix. And if you were, you know, pressed prior to cold and flu season for, you know, meaning under a lot of stress, you might be immunocompromised, and now you're a sitting target. And then we have the holiday season that we went, you know, you put this all together, and people coming into the new year are not in the best of health sometimes, right? Starting off the new year, and they're making resolutions to do better, and they're starting off with the deficit. Now, the influenza or the flu is highly contagious, and turns out it's a respiratory illness. And Chris Herbert is here today from Ridgecrest Herbals, and we're talking about a product called Clear Lungs, so it's clearly appropriate. And the flu, of course, is caused by a virus that infects the nose, the throat, and the lungs. And it spreads from person to person here. This is no big mystery. And people that are with the flu are most contagious in the first 3 to 4 days after their illness begins. You're highly infectious. Now, the flu can, you know, there's a difference between cold and flu. One of the features of the flu is that it comes on very suddenly, and you'll have early symptoms. You'll start to feel a little fatigue, some body ache, some chills, maybe start to cough, sore throat, scratchy throat, and maybe even fever. Now, for a lot of people, the flu will resolve on its own. For some. For others, not so much. And you can't take an antibiotic. Antibiotic is not going to knock out the virus. It'll knock out a secondary infection caused by the flu, which often happens. And then you can take the antibiotics. But the flu, make no mistake, the influenza is a deadly virus. And how does it get around? Travels through the air in droplets. When someone with infection coughs or sneezes or talks, you can inhale those droplets. You may not realize it, or you can pick them up. You can pick up these germs from an object where they get transferred onto a surface. You touch the surface, and then you transfer them to your eyes, to your nose, to your mouth. And human behavior, people put their hands to their face a lot.
That's okay, so that's like my worst habit I have is I always grab my mouth.
I know. I see that. And so you had that hand down on this counter in the studio, right? Now you put your hand to your face like you just did. Boom. And if you're immune suppressed even a little, maybe, you can get sick. You can spread the flu can be spread to others from about 6 feet away, by the way.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can read about that on the CDC website. I'm not making this stuff up. So that's why Chris's being here today is very appropriate. You may have a question or two, a comment. Here's how to connect with Christopher.
You can reach us at 877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK. Dr. Garko's personal email is drgarko@letstalknutrition.com. Follow us, like us, and share us on Facebook at Let's Talk Nutrition, on the Instagram at Let's Talk Nutrition. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Let's Talk Nutrition, where we have over 59,000 views. It's closed captioned for the hearing impaired and archived by date.
So we're growing there on that on YouTube and Facebook and whatnot, right?
Yes, immensely.
Why is that so good?
Well, one of the things is for the sponsors, it gives them access to their show. So if they want to show somebody else that they've been on the show or what they've talked about. Two, if you're a consumer, you can go back and look to see what the products were talked about. And if you're a retailer, you can use it in your store like Ruffino does. You put it up in your store and run it all day. And you can have people come to you and ask you about the products that we talk about.
Mm-hmm. The aforementioned Christopher Herbert is here and waiting in the wings. Chris, welcome back to the show. And I hope you're doing well since the last time we talked to you.
Yeah, I am. You had talked about the spreading of viruses and stuff, and yeah, personal hygiene is a big thing. We end up shaking a lot of people's hands, and I'm a big advocate of having people wash their hands. I think that's kind of underrated, and I see it all the time. I go into bathrooms, and men walk out without washing their hands. It's pretty disgusting.
It's not only the flu virus, the bacteria that are in there. Also as well, right?
Yeah. And we want to strengthen our immune system and support it as much as possible. And we could do that with vitamin D, probiotics, clear lungs, which we were talking about as well. And all of this helps really just support the immune system and help the body deal with all of these imbalances, especially the ones that we're just bombarded with day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. 877-897-8255, 877-897-TALK. We'll put you in touch with Chris Herbert. The Clear Lungs formula, you had mentioned that it is a constellation of herbs. Could you, run through that, what the herbs are, and what is it about? Maybe just a little. Well, we're almost out of this block, but we can get started with it. It's interesting. It would be interesting to know what these herbs are. I mean, they have interesting names, herbs do, but what exactly, maybe we can take a look at some of these individually for a moment.
I like the word that you use, the constellation of herbs. We call it portfolio formulation. So it's essentially just a unique way of how we create our formulas. And it's really what we're doing is we're diversifying the herbs for more predictable benefits with lower risks. And so what we're really doing is we're stacking these herbs to result in a powerful but predictable result. And with Clear Lungs ingredients, and actually with our whole entire line, we tend to use more full spectrum herbs over extracts.
What is that? Okay, that's a good point. When we come back, let's distinguish that, because that language is thrown around in this vocabulary, and sometimes it can be confusing for people. Full spectrum versus an extract. Exactly, instinctively or innately, one might be able to figure that out. But we'll ask Chris what that really means, and why did they choose that approach. You're listening to Let's Talk Nutrition. We are coast to coast, and we are global, and it is cold and flu season. You need to protect yourself. You need to stay healthy. You need to practice prevention, and you may need to be practicing some recovery as well. LTN, here for you. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. There is a body of work talking about the lungs and the connection of the lungs to the immune system. And some consider the lung as an immunologic organ, and it seems to act as it has an important immunological function. Now, this is not all that surprising, since the lungs and the gastrointestinal tract, for example, are continually bombarded or challenged by potential pathogens of one sort or another. Cold virus, flu virus, they're all over the place, right? This goes on. Chris Herbert was alluding to this earlier, talking about the connection between the lungs and your gastrointestinal tract, in the way that he discussed it. But of all the sites of your body subject to to incursion or invasion by pathogens, the lungs represent the most challenging immunological challenge and dilemma for the host. That would be you and me. And the lungs represent the environment most frequently targeted by these pathogens. And by the way, elderly who are immunosuppressed and get sick oftentimes end up in a lot of trouble, and maybe even putting their mortality at risk here because of lung infections. Oftentimes that's the cause of death. Otherwise, the perfectly healthy person. So you should not underestimate. I know, don't walk around thinking and talking about your lungs all the time until you have a lung infection or it's hard to breathe. But that's why we're here, to learn, and Chris is doing a fine job in doing that.
I have a question about high altitude, because I have the cabin, and I had a really bad problem when I went up there.
It's a whole nother issue of hard to breathe, right?
Yes.
We can talk about that. Let me get Chris back in here. Chris, welcome back. So these herbs, let's go down that list again in Clear Lungs.
Yeah. So Clear Lungs is based off of 13 different traditional Chinese medicine herbs. And so,
wow.
A lot of these herbs, they're very hard to recognize because they're not in a lot of the Western herbal medicine booklets or anything like that, but they've been used for thousands of years. Some of the herbs, and I won't go through all of them, but some of them are like Ophiopogon root. This is really, really exceptional at treating external conditions that may dry or irritate the lungs. So if you're around a lot of smoke, dust, winter weather, which what we're experiencing now, especially the cold and the wind, and then whenever you have those two in combination, it's kind of like a double whammy. And then also insufficient humidity. I'm a big believer of putting humidifiers in your rooms too, especially whenever you have lung ailments. Another aspect of Ophiopogon root is it helps bring moisture back to the lungs. And it helps the body balance out the mucus levels within the lungs as well. We also have Chinese asparagus root. This is known as the queen of herbs in traditional Chinese medicine. It's a very powerful lung tonic. It helps support the body and gently cleanse the lungs, any respiratory issues that the body might be dealing with. And it works really well in combination with Ophiopogon root. I talked about the whole stacking of herbs, or the portfolio of herbs. So herbs work really, really well together, and it's a beautiful balance that they have within one another. We also have Lohan Gao fruit, which you might know it as a sweetener, but it also brings a lot of medicinal benefits to the body too, respiratory and lung support. It's also rich in vitamin C, and it's also known in traditional Chinese medicine as a guiding herb. It helps direct the other herbs specifically to the upper body, especially the respiratory system.
I see. So this is interesting. They all have sort of like a personality unto themselves, each one, and chemically doing different, with a different chemical profile, their structure and function, and what kinds of effects they have. And trying to figure out which ones to put together is not so easy. That's one issue. The other is to go back to that notion of, you said that you use full spectrum versus extract. But to that first part, there's 13 in there. And these, after all, I mean, it is chemistry. And putting them together, you don't want to blow up the lab, right?
Well, that's true. Herbs they're amazingly complex, just like our bodies are. I mean, they're full of phytochemicals, nutrients, antioxidants, and other chemicals that work synergistically together. So, we're yet to fully understand the intricacies of the whole herb. That one ingredient that people might pick from the herb could lose some of its effectiveness if we take out the other phytonutrients. If you think about it too, let's take an example for like carrots. Carrots have high amounts of beta carotene. Well, carrots also have 100 phytochemicals within them. So, who are we to say that the other 99 phytochemicals don't work? And this same thought can be applied to herbs as well. Whenever we extract one herb and then, pump up that herb to high quantities, we're missing all the other phytochemicals, because those other phytochemicals could help that main ingredient or that main phytochemical in that herb work better.
So I guess that's sort of like if you try to evaluate a human being based on one personality feature.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't get a real sense of who that person is if we just took one aspect of their personality, right? We would need to know all the dimensions of their personality and maybe their attitudes, their values, and their beliefs, and so on, to understand them better, if that analogy works. Let's talk nutrition coast to coast and globally.
Don't be stressed out or anxious. Take Hempanol, the only raw CO2 hemp extract available. It's 100% organic with wild oregano P73 extract. You might have heard about CBD, but there's no comparison. Hempanol has the power and energy you need to support your nervous system, calm and focus, and maintain a healthy immune system. Unlike other CBD oils, Hempanol contains the full spectrum of phytochemicals to keep you and feel great. If you suffer from insomnia and can't seem to get that full night's rest, try Hempanol PM. Hempanol PM is specifically formulated to get you the rest you need without feeling sluggish. It's not addictive, completely natural, leaves you feeling energetic and ready. Place your order and find out where to find Hempanol in your area.
Text the nationwide keyword TAB to 200-200. You'll get a text confirming entry plus iHeartRadio info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's TAB to 200-200.
From the Florida Central Credit Union Free Checking Traffic Center.
KFC's got a variety of $20 burgers with extra crispy, original recipe, crispy tenders, or boneless chicken breasts. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 ways to feed your hungry family. KFC, it's finger licking good. Feel tired, lethargic, or irritable? Take Solace. You're one of millions of Americans that has trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. In fact, according to a national survey, 54% of adults have trouble sleeping. So what can you do about it? Take Solace. Solace is an all-natural dietary supplement formulated to support healthy sleep and relaxation. Solace can help you fall asleep and stay asleep naturally. Formulated with all-natural ingredients, Solace is non-addictive and won't leave you feeling groggy in the morning. Take Solace an hour before bed and feel the calming effects of this extensively researched sleep and relaxation aid. For more information on Solace, call toll-free 877-533-7066 or visit TakeSolace.com. That's 877-533-7066 or take SOLUS.com. Look for Solace in your local health and nutrition store. Solace, for a good night's rest naturally.
It's been called shell shock, war neurosis, and battle fatigue. Today, we call it post-traumatic stress disorder, and it affects 1 out of every 5 warriors returning from battle in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Wounded Warrior Project offers comfort and support for warriors with PTSD and all other scars of war, whether those scars are visible or hidden. Find out how to help, because for warriors, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Please visit woundedwarriorproject.org.
At CarMax, when we say we buy all the cars, we mean it. Over the last 20 years, we've purchased millions of cars from coast to coast. In the last year alone, we've bought a mountain of Mercurys, an armada of Nissans, a ton of Titans, an ocean of Pacificas, and a sea of Siennas. Not to mention a few Hellcats and a couple of Tornadoes. So no matter what you're selling, CarMax is buying. And we'll buy your car even if you don't buy ours. CarMax, we buy all the cars.
I'm Navy veteran Eric Dane. Join us for CBS Eye on Veterans with information for vets transitioning to civilian life, weekday mornings at 7:50 and Saturday evenings at 6, right here on 1250 WHNZ.
From the Weather Center, Abrahamson and Uterwick. See the results. The Injury Lawyers, Pinellas Hillsborough.
Your Tampa Bay area forecast. Mostly cloudy, breezy, and cool. High 63. Mostly cloudy tonight, the low 53. Partly cloudy and warmer tomorrow, a 20% rain chance. High 72. For more news, weather, and traffic, tune to WFLA at 94.5 in St. Pete, 105.9 in Tampa, or 99.1 in Newport Richey.
This report is sponsored by Peloton. Live studio classes in the comfort of your home. Winter or summer, rain or shine, with the Peloton bike, it's always the perfect weather to sweat. And with up to 14 live rides a day and over 10,000 more on demand, nothing will get between you and your workout. Learn more about the Peloton bike at onepeloton.com or visit your local showroom.
Now, a 1250 WHNZ market update.
And markets remain mixed today, with the Dow down 41 to 24,973. The Nasdaq positive 86 points, and the S&P index gaining 16. Don't forget, you can ask Alexa or Google to play 1250 WHNZ, and also pick up the iHeartRadio app through your app store at WHNZ.com.
Let's Talk Nutrition is brought to you by American Biotech Labs, your daily immune system support. Ridgecrest Herbals, take your health to a higher elevation. Ancient Nutrition, nutrition for a modern world. Reviva Labs, the natural skincare authority. Let's Talk Nutrition on the web at letstalknutrition.com. We're back from the break, so let's rejoin Dr. Michael Garko.
Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Chris Herbert is our guest today, talking about Ridgecrest Herbals. We zeroed in on their one product, Clear Lungs. It's been the leading selling product for lung health for the last 20 years in the natural products space. Pretty remarkable. That's not so easy to do. I suspect that that's the case because it works. So, that's what we talk about on the show. Chris, welcome back. This notion of full spectrum. So you don't take the herb and extract compounds out. You try to use the entire herb, the whole plant. Is that it?
That is true. We understand that extracts, they hold their value and their place within alternative remedies, and we do use some, but 80 to 90% of our formulas are full spectrum herbs. There are every once in a while we'll use an extract, but generally speaking, the majority of the time we'll use full spectrum herbs.
I noticed at your website you have other products that are lung related, right?
Yeah, we do. We make an airway clear, and the major differences between the Clear Lungs and the airway clear are, and it revolves around traditional Chinese medicine. And Clear Lungs is more of a warming formula. Whenever the body has an imbalance, and it's the body is very cold and damp, usually during cold and flu season, we want to gently warm the body, and that's really what the herbs do. Airway Clear is kind of the opposite. It's more designed to help cool the lungs down. So if you have any type of inflammation in the lungs, the herbs within Airway Clear are designed to help cool the inflammation down. And so, generally speaking, we like to say that if you have a wet, mucusy type cough, Clear Lungs is really good for you. If you have a dry, wheezy type cough, Airway Clear is more for you.
Okay, so you wouldn't take these together. They're different.
Not necessarily, but you can. So let's just say you wake up in the morning, you have a wet, mucusy cough. You could do Clear Lungs. As the day goes on, it could turn into a dry, wheezy cough. You could still do Airway Clear. You can't take them together, but we generally ask people, what kind of cough do you have? And from there, we could help direct them to the specific formula for them.
877.
And we also make a...
I was going to say 877-897-8255 will get you in touch. If you have a question, a comment about what we're talking about, or even off topic, that's okay too. Go ahead, Chris.
You know, we also make a sinus clear, and the sinus clear is more for any type of, if you have any type of allergies, nasal congestion, the sinus clear works, especially for the upper nasal area.
So you could take that with Clear Lungs.
Absolutely.
You know, when you start thinking about the human body and the different systems of the body, there's something to keep in mind. The lungs, the alveolar membrane of the lungs, whether people realize it or if you don't study it, you wouldn't know, but it's the largest surface of the body that's in contact with the outside world, with the outside environment. Think about that for a second. And your skin, and just as your skin and your gastrointestinal mucosa, the lungs are what? They are continuously exposed to what? A whole array of microbes, organic and inorganic particulate matter, materials. And as we evolved, we selected for strategies, natural selection developed strategies to recognize these elements from the outside world and to distinguish potentially harmful agents from, you know, the ones that are not so innocuous or that are innocuous, these innocuous foreign materials. And that's part of that's part of your innate immune system. And then we develop an adaptive immune system with the lymphocytes. But it's, you know, you alluded to this early today in the show, that the lungs are, you know, so connected. You connected it to the digestive tract, but the lungs are so connected to the outside world. And we're breathing in air and we're breathing in everything that comes with it. So it's susceptible to infection and invasion, isn't it? Aren't they?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dr. Gargo. You know, the lungs are really known as the canopy of all the internal organs in the body. You know, they're responsible for the flow of blood, bodily fluids. In traditional Chinese medicine, they are the major organ responsible for the flow of qi, your energy within the body. And so the lung is really the middleman between the body and the environment.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting way to put it, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, we really need to protect our lungs. It's, you know, and it's something that we don't really think about a lot. And we need to protect our environment too, you know, making sure that we're not around a lot of smoke, heavily polluted environments. And another thing too is that we don't exercise in a lot of urban environments. You know, I see a lot of people running in these, you know, heavily environments that, you know, they're breathing in all this smog and soot and everything from cars. And so we have to be responsible for that. I think that's where Clear Lungs kind of steps in and helps protect the lungs.
So the sinus clear would be useful. Do people typically take that when they have a sinus infection or having a hard time breathing?
Yeah,
through
hard time breathing, especially in their nasal passages. They feel clogged up in the nasal passages. Sinus Clear works incredibly quickly too, so people will find really quick relief taking Sinus Clear, usually within 10-15 minutes.
It helps to create moisture in the sinus cavity.
It does, yes. Bring more moisture back, kind of relieve that dryness in the nasal cavities.
Yeah, there's so many things to think about in different ways. I mean, during this time of year, any time of year. But I'm thinking right now of the elderly, for example. They are so susceptible to upper respiratory infections. And oftentimes, you have a perfectly healthy elderly person, and they get pneumonia, they get some sort of lung infection, lung problem, issue with the lungs, and they don't make it. They don't make it. And you hear that all the time. So-and-so passed away due to pulmonary complications. Yeah. That's why we need to be vigilant and learn about these different systems of the body, how they work, how they connect to the world. Just think about that. The surface of your lungs is the surface closest to the environment. That's the connection to the outside, in addition to your skin, of course. Here's the LTN health question of the day. Not too hard. Chris gave the answer a little bit ago. How many herbs are included in the Clear Lungs product from Ridgecrest Herbals? How many herbs are included in the formulation? 3, 5, or 13? How many? 3, 5, or 13? How many herbs are included in the Clear Lungs formula from Ridgecrest Herbals? Here's the number to call.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK.
Let's see. I'll give you a hint. You know, they always say lucky what? Fill in the blank. Lucky, boom. Gamblers. Chris, welcome back. Have you used the product?
Yeah, pretty religiously. You know, I travel a lot, so I'm on a lot of airplanes, hotels, conferences. So, yeah, it's an absolute must. And plus, too, I got 3 boys, so
whoa,
you know, they're and so you know they're picking up all types of germs and viruses and bacteria from who knows where.
Yeah, they go to school and they bring that stuff home, right?
Absolutely.
Do you get in colds and flus often or no?
I don't, not very often, but I will say I do get them. We're never bulletproof. You know, there's, and here's the thing: we never hardly realize sometimes what can cause it because it's multifaceted. You know, it could be diet, could be digestion, lower immunity, some environmental factor that we ran across. There's so many different things that lead us susceptible to becoming ill that we're never fully bulletproof.
That's true, you know. And some people, I often say, they can walk into a room where people in the room have bubonic plague, and they don't get sick, right? They just don't.
Yeah.
And then other people, they don't even have to go into the room. They could be standing outside of the room, and they get it. If you get my drift. It's hard to explain. And people that are healthy, people think, well, my immune system is vital. But even sometimes when your immune system is up and ready and it's really, it's virulent itself, you can still get sick.
Yeah, you can. You know, and it could also stem from you're under stress. You know, you didn't eat good foods for a certain week, or there's just so many different factors that it's really funny too. Being in this industry, people are like, "You must never get sick." Well, no, that's not true. I do get sick, but but it's not very often. And usually, whenever I do get sick, the duration is a lot shorter.
Can you take the Clear Lungs? Would it be useful to take it once infected?
Absolutely, yeah. Usually whenever it's in the lungs, it's pretty deep rooted, and so we want to try to bring Clear Lungs helps bring that circulation to the lungs to help speed up that process. And so it's a natural lung tonic, and you could even take it whenever you're not sick, just as a good lung tonic for the lungs, and to help, especially if you're around a lot of like a heavily polluted environment, or if you're around people that secondhand smoke, those sort of factors.
877-897-8255. That's a number that Trish called. She lives in Largo, Florida. Trish, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Thank you. Nice to be on.
Yes, ma'am. How many? What's that?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
My answer is 13.
Yeah, there are 13 herbs, full spectrum, right, Christopher?
Yeah, absolutely. 13 different herbs. Good job, Trish, and they're all full spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, I think I have healthy lungs, but you never know. Maybe I'll be trying that product one day.
Have you ever, among your friends and those that you know, in terms of the elderly, you hear stories about them getting pneumonia and lung
definitely.
and then having a hard time and sometimes not making it.
Correct.
Otherwise healthy, but not able to overcome that lung infection.
Yes.
It's maddening. Drives doctors crazy.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Bad for the patient.
Bad, very bad for the patient.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Thank you for listening to the show.
Thank you. I enjoy your show.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your kind words.
Okay.
Christopher, your boys, how old are your boys?
I have 3 young ones, 8, 6, and almost 4.
Oh, jeez. Your wife. I can just imagine.
Respect everyone, love everyone, no matter what differences they might have. We're really big about nutrition within our family as well, making sure that they eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. And it's funny at dinner time too, we always make sure that, if they have some, really funny because their treats are apples, dates, figs, something a little sweet, but it's always coming from fruit.
I know.
We're really big about instilling good, proper nutrition, making sure that they're staying hydrated as well.
Yeah, you and your wife have established their relationship with food, and it sounds like a healthy relationship. 3 boys. Oh my goodness, at those ages, I can. You both are saints, you and your wife. That's great. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing your insight and your knowledge. And thank you for Ridgecrest Herbals Clear Lungs. Don't go without it during this cold and flu season. Your health is your wealth.
Everyone's raving about the newest botanical superstar hitting the store shelves nationwide. Hemp-derived cannabidiol, or CBD, has been receiving a lot of attention for its tremendous promise on human health. Plus, CBD